One of the key things about Wicked is the difference between the two leading characters as persons and as personalities. Elphaba, obviously the misunderstood girl who has been downtrodden her whole life, and Glinda, the girl who's had all the advantages and everything handed to her. And then how they change and how they change each other is the story of the show. So when I was first working on it and just trying to find musical themes for the two, how did they sound? One of the very first things that I came up with was a little motif. This is the sound of the Wicked Witch, and it's the thing that goes. Just that. Because I wanted to think like, what is like wickedness? What is a sound of something that would be, she's strong, she's scary, she's powerful, she's who we think the Wicked Witch is. But then I wanted a theme or a musical sound that was her true power, her strength, and what would we hear when she came into that? And that was this. Then became the motif for Defying Gravity. And again, I wanted something that just sounded like a building awareness, self-awareness of one's own power. And then the other thematic idea, musical idea for Elphaba, which occurs throughout the show, was the sort of thing that she wanted, which is her vision of being accepted and being embraced, which she's never had. And that's a more dreamy sound. And so that was this. And what we call the unlimited theme, where she sings, unlimited, my future is unlimited, and so on. So that what I was trying to achieve was a kind of hopefulness and longing and aspiration. So those three themes were really what the music for Elphaba grew out of. Glinda, I knew that her main, when we were really first introduced to her, that we wanted something that sounded very lighthearted and sort of confident and kind of recalled the popular girl in high school. And so I tried to come up with something that didn't sound exactly like what we in America call bubblegum music, but that was sort of like that kind of feel that is sort of like a little mindlessly cheerful. And then, of course, Glinda develops throughout the show and gains more depth as the show goes along. But that was the feel that I first had for her. And yeah, that's what we did in the show. To me, Defying Gravity was about our main character coming into her own power. We've seen this developing over the course of the first act, and it is during this song that she actually stands up in her black hat and her cape, and we see the Wicked Witch of the West. And I, from the very first beginning of working on the show, Winnie Holtzman, my collaborator, the book writer, and I knew that that was where we wanted to be at the end of the first act. I was trying to find a theme, a musical theme that suggested to me a growing power, and it was this. That this sort of low, the bass, which is doing, just played it badly, but is growing, literally growing. And then the chords here are very open, which to me, in other words, there's no third in this chord. You know, you're not playing, which is a more tonic and they're more gentle chord. This very first sound is, to me, very strong. It's in D flat, which is the strongest sound on a piano. And just so these two chords do have thirds in them. They're full chords, but they're voiced. Strangely, they're not voiced, and then again, you end on this very suspended chord, and then there's a little kind of like a hint, like something's coming, some ideas coming into my head. That was the goal of this. The idea was just that the song would get increasingly rhythmic as her power developed, that we would return in the middle of it to the unlimited theme, to the aspirational theme again, because that's a motif that goes through the show. And then at the very end, she'd be singing a tune which starts out, something has changed within me. It's a very kind of rangy tune, But at the end, when she's finally flying and she's up there, instead of singing the tune that way, she just stays up. She's like, so if you care to find me, look to the western sky. And it's the same basic tune. It's a variation on the tune, but it's flying the way she is. Well, because it's a song about empowerment, and it's a song about first feeling and then owning your power. And I think a lot of people, including myself, yearn for that experience, value it if we happen to have that experience. Yeah, I think there's a universality about wanting to feel strong in the world and about wanting to feel that you're strong in who you are, not being masked, not trying to be somebody else wants you to be, And it's in this song that the character of Elphaba just gives up trying to be anybody but herself. She says, too long I've been afraid of losing love, because she's always wanted to be loved. But then she says, well, I guess that's lost. And if that's what love is, then it comes at too high a cost. It costs me too much. I need to be who I am. I'm going to try defying gravity, which is just a metaphor for saying I'm going to fly on my own terms and with my own wings, or my own broom, I suppose. Well, Defying Gravity is sort of a compendium of some motifs and themes that we have heard before. As I said, the very first thing you hear when Wicked starts is that witch's theme. And at the very end of Defying Gravity, that comes back. There's it's motifs that have been strung together that tell the story of the journey of our central character. Well, I mean, every now and then in the theater, you get a moment where all the creative elements from the creative team are just firing on all cylinders. And I think that's what happened to us in Wicked. There was a song that was about empowerment that allowed, in the case of our original cast member, Idina Menzel, but the other young women who have followed her, someone who had great ability to give full voice to that. Joe Mantello, our director, staged it brilliantly, and right down to the lighting, which I think the lighting for Defying Gravity is the best lighting I've ever seen in the musical theater. Just that one moment. Ken's lighting, to me, is just, it's so thrilling, the way he uses color, the way he uses the movement of the light, and all of it comes together, I think, to make a really theatrically thrilling moment. But the point being, it's not just the song. It's a song that gave the other artists working on the show both license and an opportunity to work at the top of their capacity.